been a while since we've done a game breakdown. I think we do it here. I think we do it now. All right. Let's go over this game. Also, we'll be putting this on the YouTube channel. So, yo, if you're watching this on YouTube, all I ask of you, if you enjoyed the video, if you find it helpful, man, even if you don't, dude. I mean, these other YouTubers out here, they're just like screaming it out from the very beginning. They're just like, yo, smash the like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe. The video hasn't even played yet, so let's just go the same route. Yo, if you're out there, you're watching this, smash that like button, baby. Smash it so hard the screen breaks. All right, there you go. Boom, bang, bop. Let's go. Jump into this one. We're going through. We're breaking down the gameplay of this game here. What he's barely had. Streaming it live on Twitch. Alright, we're going in. First things first, boom, we're pulling up the circle. I'm seeing where the circle's at. This is actually a great circle for me. I love these type of circles. The reason I love these type of circles is because, boom, the circle is out on the edge of the map away from all these buildings. I love when we get far east circles, far west circles, and north circles because, you know, you don't have to maneuver as much through the downtown area where there's just tons of people stacked up on top of each other, peeking in from windows, rooftops, all sorts of things. So, yo. This game, also, something to note, pay attention to the flight path, you know? Pay attention to where the flight path is when you're coming in. This might be something obvious, but this is something that a lot of people don't think about. They overlook, they overthink a lot of the time. You can't make it that far from the drop, right? You can only stretch so far. So, I mean, if you were wanting to get out away from people at the start of the game, loot up, get plenty of loot, man, if you make it far south here, right, when this plane is coming in, obviously you're going to be able to get loot away from most people. You're not going to have to worry about people running up on you right when you're getting loot. Think about how far people can make it from the plane. Think about all the hot spots. Where are people likely to jump here? To airport, to the hangars. Probably able to stretch a little bit to Superstore. It's going to go past Millbase. Millbase is going to be hot this game. TV station, right? All these areas are going to end up being hot. So we're jumping. At the start of the game, I like to land on bounties and sometimes on vehicles. I prefer using vehicles. Vehicles are a good way to rotate. I actually don't end up using a vehicle all that much this game. Also, the smart thing about doing bounties or any contracts early on, right? If you can just get like a couple contracts, even if you end up dying and you end up going to the gulag. Let's lower the volume here a little bit. Even if you end up dying and you end up going to the gulag, if you've already done a couple bounties or contracts, if you go out of the gulag and you don't have any cash, you do one contract, you're going to get a ton of cash because the more contracts you do, the more money you get for the contracts, right? You get a bonus each time you do a contract. It goes from 40%, 80%, 120%. So if you've already done a couple contracts, you might get out of the gulag. You might not have any cash. You could go simply do a scavenger or a recon contract, and you're going to get a ton of money just from that. All right, so we grab the bounty. I'm pushing this guy early on here. Paying attention to the bounty marker. Also, if you don't know about the bounty marker, when you have a bounty on you, right, you have your threat meter. That threat meter, if you notice the circle on the minimap, it gets smaller once you're inside the threat meter the first time, right? And as you get closer and closer to the guy, the circle gets less and less. That is the same indicator for the other guys, right? So his threat right here, once you go inside, it's going to go to orange. And once you get closer and the circle gets even smaller, it's going to go to red. Like at this point, it's going to go to red for him. He knows that I'm close. So we've just been running him down. We've been seeing the direction that he's headed. We end up taking him out. Also, I think people are pretty aware of this. The start of the game, like really good weapons to look for in the boxes, laying on the ground. M4 is king. Even the white M4, dude. The white M4 is better than the vast majority of other guns you find on the ground. Like, don't pay attention. This is another thing, dude, that tons of people make this mistake across multiple Battle Royale games. They pay attention to, like, the color of the weapon, right? Like, oh, this is a green LMG, or this is a blue LMG, so blue means it's better than white. No, that's not always the case. That's not always the case. The M4 is vastly superior to most all the other guns. Even, like, there's, like, the Necrosis. There's all these other weapons. There's the setup with them, like, you get 100 rounds. The thing is, in solos, in most modes in this, you don't need 100 rounds, man. You don't need 100 rounds. they're really, it's kind of like baiting newer players. I think players that don't know like the game as well into using them. Like you can perform so much better, which is a white M4, than you can with these purple and even sometimes like the legendary weapons. I would take a white M4 over a lot of them. Obviously, something that I just heard right there, something to pay attention to throughout the game, is the new call out. Whenever you hear about enemy soldier above or enemy soldier incoming, that's someone jumping back from the gulag, right? So I ended up pushing over here. And instead of running up straight into the building, because what I had seen, this guy that was on the ATV that I had shot at going down the road, he goes down the street, he jumps off the ATV here at the gas station. Now I got a pretty good look at the guy before as he was going down the road and past us, right? And I noticed that his skin was like a darker like skin, like he was wearing like a hoodie or like a cloak or something. And so when I see this player here, right there, that is not the same player that I had seen before. So I knew that this other guy, either one, he got killed by this person, or he's still around. So even though I'm pushing this guy, I'm still trying to pay attention to my surroundings. This guy makes a very smart play, to be honest. I think this would have got many players. He ends up throwing that C4 on the wall. As I push up, I didn't notice it until right before opening the door. So I try to get out of the way. You gotta pay attention to that. Often you can see those things through the wall. You can see the lasers for the claymore through walls. Sometimes if they position them in a bad spot, you can see the flashing of a C4. You can see the flashing of a bouncing Betty. Pay attention to that. Whenever you're pushing anybody that's a house camper inside of a building, pay very close attention to that, because I mean almost always, man, it's Call of Duty. These guys are using their equipment to try to camp.
It's actually a hell of a
And then
play,
boom,
man.
right there. If you notice that, might be hard for you to hear. I might have went back just a little bit too far on this VOD. Let me see. Right here. Listen to this, dude.
It's actually a...
Did you hear that? Boom, right then. It was probably very hard, very faint. Something, pro tip. You know, if you don't got a headset, good sound settings, you know. Honestly, I don't have any special sound settings, but if you don't have a good headset, you're not used to hearing sound, that's something that I think a lot of people would have missed. Those are the small things that give you that warning. That's why sound is so important in battle royales. And sometimes that's why it's so super frustrating when the sound doesn't work, especially in COD. Like, COD definitely has its sound issues. But that little warning right there probably saved me. Otherwise, like, I might stick next to this guy, keep looting.
a hell of a play you had right there.
You hear it right there again. So, boom, there was the first one. You hear it the second time. There's definitely a guy inside. And actually, during this point, I was worried that he might be on the roof. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to give a little ground. I'm going to get back so I can see the roof. And I'm going to get back behind this wall so I have cover here. End up seeing this guy on the top. He jumps off. Goes inside the window. I hear another fight break out. That's not the same guy I was shooting at before. So I'm not just going to launch myself in there immediately. Got a little bit of damage on him. Now, this is like, sound is key here. You can hear him to the left, right? I can hear him to the left, so then I end up pushing around, get a good angle on this guy. Sound is so key. So that's why it's also, like I just said, it's super frustrating sometimes when sound doesn't end up working properly. But always be paying attention to sound in these close range fights, man. Also, you see that we're being hunted right now? This is what I was talking about previously. You see how it's a yellow threat meter? This means this guy, obviously, he's not that close, right? But to know how close he is, that bigger circle on the minimap
Campers for days.
that you see when you have a bounty, you're going after somebody, that means he's not inside that first circle yet. Once he gets inside that first circle, that area will turn to orange. So it tells you how close this guy is. When it goes to red, it means he is obviously very close. He's inside the next circle that down after it shrinks. So, gonna go up, grab this next bounty here as well. Also, when you're being hunted, right? It counts as a bounty if you end up killing the guy that has the bounty out on you.
Ooh, we got our guy closing in on us.
Which
over
ends
here.
up giving another boost or a high percentage of money that you're gonna get off of completing future contracts. So now this turns orange. I know that this guy is pretty close. Like, he has to be within, man, a couple buildings away. because he's inside that first
Give me the
circle
bounty. Give me the
on
bounty.
the mini-map.
Positive ID on the bounty target. Sort 'em out.
So you see this circle that I have on this guy? On the mini-map, how big it is? If I was inside that first circle, the threat meter for him is going to turn to orange.
The Tan Man.
So you're going to see here in just a second. This ends up turning to red. Are there duos in this game? There isn't currently duos in the Battle Royale mode.
Where's our dude hunting us?
See, boom, just turned to red. Just turned to red. So I know this guy is super close. This is why I'm going to get up on the ledge here. I'm going to be scanning around, looking around for this guy. Because I know that he's pushing to the building. I know he's not here yet because it just barely turned to red.
He's getting close.
But no, there isn't duos currently in the Battle Royale mode. There was in Plunder. I don't even know if they have kept it in Plunder. But I can't wait for them to add duos because I think duos are going to end up being a ton of fun. I think they'll be the most fun mode in the BR.
Getting close. Where the hell he at?
So, right now, this guy is just lurking around, right? The threat meter hasn't gone back to orange yet. He's still somewhere close. And then right here, boom, he just pops out of that shed.
Right there.
We end up getting him.
Got it.
Also, when it comes to guns currently in the game that are really good, this is currently my favorite gun that isn't from a loadout, right? That isn't from your own personal loadout. The Growl, the legendary Growl with the no stock, this thing is super, super good. You got like the mobility of an SMG, but you still got really high damage, and it still has very low recoil. Very, very good gun. This is one of the guns that I'm always looking for. So here, I've got a ton of cash from only doing like what? We did one bounty, and then we got this guy. That was coming after us. And we've got 14,000, almost 15,000 in cash. So this is going to help me in this game to get a ton of UAVs, and these UAVs are going to help me to hunt down a ton of players in the game. We're going to push in the next bounty here. And as we're approaching, can hear gunshots, can hear sounds. You can even see on the mini-map these guys fighting. So we end up pushing in. And since this guy just barely fought, I don't want to give this guy time to plate up, right? He's already taken one fight. And he's likely damaged. He's likely plating. Something to realize in this game. This is very similar to Apex too. If you can catch someone right in the middle of plating, even if they've just barely put in a plate, there's still a period of time after that where they can't fire, right? They have to raise their gun up. They have a delay. So by pushing right here after this dude took a fight, already gave us the advantage. He's trying to plate up. He's already going to be low. He's going to have a delay having to react to us because he's trying to get his plates off. And a lot of people are going to try to be greedy with their plates. They're going to try to get as many plates back in as possible. And if you can catch someone, even if they've got 2 plates off and they're throwing a third in.
Here, I'm never coming out. I'm just going to sit in the bathroom for the rest of my life.
And they're throwing a third one in, right? That gives them throwing that third plate in gives you plenty of time to knock them. And they're not even going to be able to shoot you. So one of those tips, if you're going to maybe a push or you hear steps, canceling your plates right away. Depends on the situation. Could end up being a really good play. Still paying attention to my left side because previously we had seen gunshots on the radar. You got to keep track of where all these players are at. Right? So we bought a couple UAVs here. And this is something I like to do. Whenever I have an airstrike, right? And I'm going to go and get a UAV. I popped the first UAV, saw where somebody's at. I like to use the airstrike right after that if I'm going to grab another UAV. So I'm going to throw an airstrike out towards this guy. We don't even end up getting him in this, but at least you're using your airstrike. It's not going to waste. You're not leaving it there for somebody else to go get it, right? So going to throw it out there and then go back, grab another UAV so I have one to use after this. And these UAVs come up here clutch, especially in storage. And the sooner you get UAVs too, the more money you can get off the beginning. So if you go and get your contracts, right, early on, and you can stack up a good amount of dough and get a lot of cash, a lot of these people are not going to have a loadout yet, right? They don't have the money to get the loadout. The game loadout doesn't come in until a few seconds before the first circle locks. So almost nobody out there, right, is going to have Ghost. So you're going to easily be able to hunt these guys down with a UAV. So the faster you're able to get that cash in UAVs early on, the easier it's going to be for you to actually go and hunt all these guys down. And the less you have to worry about someone having ghosts and not showing up on your UAV. So right here, we got a guy on the left, we got a guy on the right. So I'm slow playing this. I'm thinking that the guy back behind him may end up pushing him and shooting him in the back here. Just slow playing it, watching him, you know, using the little cracks in between to see what way he's going. So now here, I'm going to check my left side. Boom. Take the one guy out on the left. And now I'm looking at my UAV here. Something to pay attention to. Some people don't know about this about UAVs. Maybe you're newer to Call of Duty. But if it's just a dot on the UAV, that means he's on the same level as you, right? He's on the same height level as you. If it's an arrow above pointing up, it means he's above you. If there's an arrow down, it means that he's below you. I know that that's pretty basic tip, pretty basic thing, but you'll be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that don't know that. So I had seen him there peeking the corner. I knew that he was right around this spot from the UAV. So we're going to come around that corner, ready to fire. Either jumping, sliding. Give yourself a little bit extra of a boost. So see here, with that guy on the UAV, there was an arrow above. That was how you can know that, okay, there's a guy above me. He's obviously floating back in from the gulag, that guy. Before going to the buy stations, checking the rooftops, checking the surroundings. Going to a buy station, one of the riskiest things in the game, especially in solos, right? Take a little bit of extra time. Maybe even go up to the buy station and just like chill there for a second or around it before you buy. If you feel like somebody might be camping in the area. Could end up saving your life, or at least give you a chance to react. And this is another point, like we got the UAV so early on. Almost all these guys, we're seeing everybody that's actually around us because almost nobody has ghosts at this point in the game. So I'm watching him and easily able to find this guy. He's just chilling out here behind the gas station.
Excited.
If you pay attention to where the dot is, it can give you a very good indicator on where the guy is exactly. They've done a really good job with the UAVs and the minimap. That if you pay attention to exactly where the dot is, that's exactly where the guy is. So it showed that the dot was outside the gas station there. Boom, check outside the gas station. There he is. All right, we're pushing around. I end up marking this guy on the map too. I like throwing out a marker. Maybe I end up buying a UAV, right? I end up using a UAV. I'll focus on, like, we're going to push this guy on the UAV. Say there was a guy at Boneyard, right? And we choose to push the guy at Boneyard. But I'll mark other players. And when we're playing in a squad, our squad will mark other squads, right? So that way, even after we push this team at Boneyard and killed them, then we can remember, oh, yo, there was a team that was on orange. They might be heading this way, or they might be going into the zone, or they might even still be chilling there. There was a team on green. There was a team on blue. We mark all these spots so that we know where teams are after the UAV runs out, or where they were. So you have a good idea where somebody might be coming from. This is something I like doing in solos. So we had seen this guy was chilling in the house here on the UAV. Also, there was an up arrow. That means he's upstairs. So I end up breaking the window. I'm trying to bait him to come to the window. Shoot a couple, rounds at the window. Maybe he thinks someone's fighting outside. Maybe he wonders, like, what the hell's going on? He's going to take a little peek out and investigate, and then pull out the sniper, snipe him as he peeks. Bait them into peeking. And then this is what, right here, he's still upstairs. I pop my next UAV, and you can see that he's upstairs from this, and he's chilling in the right corner. Like, you can easily tell from the UAV that he's literally upstairs right here chilling. If you look at the UAV, boom. So I end up stunning, throw a C4, and as I'm pushing in, I blow the C4 right before I go into the house. And I actually end up even hitting, I think, a bouncing Betty on the way up. But by blowing up the C4, stunning him beforehand, and immediately pushing, he doesn't get to hear me coming up the staircase. He's still, like, stunned. He doesn't know exactly what the hell is happening. He just has an explosion in his face, and then I'm able to go up the stairs, take him out. Whenever you're taking out house campers, trying to breach on him, it's one of the things. Use your stuns, use your C4s, and timing them properly can be a huge thing in giving the advantage.
Up here, just... my God, there's footsteps outside. Don't come in here, please. No. No, I just want to lay in this house and stare at the floorboards. Don't come in here. Stay out there. I wouldn't know what to do if you actually came in my
Campers,
house.
bro. Campers, man.
Oh my God, he's C4 me. He's coming in. He's coming into the house.
That's these players. That's these players. That's why we're making this guide.
He's not even moving. He's just prone in a house.
That's why we're making this guide right now, because of all
He's
these
just
campers
prone
out
in the
here,
house
all right?
The whole time.
Trying to give them some tips, some
He's not even
knowledge,
looking out the window.
some knowledge in order to help them out a little bit, so they don't have to sit inside a house and camp their whole life, laying in bushes, corners, and hedges, praying to God that the circle ends on them so they get a win, all right? You know what? Someone out there, you got a friend that he just sits in a house the whole time. Send him this damn video, man. Maybe he'll learn a couple things that'll help him out. All right, so we end up buying another UAV. Gonna pop the UAV immediately right after because we don't know where the players are at right now. Pop the UAV immediately. We end up seeing there's a guy on the minimap, arrow up, so he's above us. Could be on the second level, could be on the roof, but he's over on this left side here. So either, boom, he's gonna be either be on this level with the window, or he's gonna be above on the roof. So I pull the sniper out, and I'm ready to check that area. And then, boom, he goes past the window.
So, dude, how you doing?
Snipe him. Also, someone was asking right before this about a tip. Viss, what's a good way to improve your aim in Call of Duty? One of the best ways to improve your aim in Call of Duty is to simply go into multiplayer, play like Domination, Headquarters, something where you're going to get a lot of combat in really quickly. And that way, you can improve your aim much faster than just going in and playing Battle Royale. Now, if you had been paying attention to the UAV, this vehicle had come around, it pulled up on the backside of the building, and we had also had a guy in the graveyard from the dots, right? So I'm going to go up here into this house, and I'm going to get elevation, and that's what I'm checking for. He was along this wall, so I'm looking for that. We just seen him jump over. He jumps back up. We even actually end up getting a shot on him. But, thinking, knowing where the players are at, right? With the UAV, yada, yada. Where's an advantage point I can get to? You don't have to immediately push right into them, man. Maybe take a rooftop. Maybe grab a building. Maybe hop maybe go around, get behind the guy, hop the wall. There's many different ways you could approach them once you know they're at. So getting UAVs early on, man, especially in solos, can be a huge, huge thing. A lot of players right now, this is becoming more and more of a thing. A lot of people end up just trying to play in a chopper, fly as high as they can, circle the map to make it to late game. A lot of the time, it's probably best, unless you have a launcher that can lock on, just to ignore them. Unless they obviously are coming to harass you, then probably a good idea to take them out. So.
Collateral! Boom!
End up listening to the shots here as we're pushing up. Heard this fight break out. Able to take out the guy. Also, paying attention to those situations to who's winning the fight, right? Could have easily shot the other guy there. But if you paying attention, boom. This guy is landing the shots on this dude. Ends up getting the knock. Let's take the guy out, obviously, that's standing up. Take an extra, half a second to assess the situation and what's happening. So here we pop another UAV. We see this guy heading this way, coming around the corner. Gonna start aiming in with the sniper already, because we know this guy is coming around. End up hitting the shots and taking him out with the AR. Some people are gonna wonder, what's the class I'm running right now? I'm running the AX-50 sniper. We've got a monolithic suppressor on it, long range barrel. We got a tac laser. Then we have the grip, the hand grip that ends up giving a faster ADS, and the stock that gives a faster ADS. That way we're able to get into our scopes quickly. You can get into cover, pop out while aiming into your scope, and able to get on target and able to hit that snipe in a lot of those situations where you're either having like a sniper duel or you only got limited time to pop out of cover, land some shots before this guy starts trying to beam you with his AR. So that was another one of those situations right there I end up using. Where I end up using the kill streak here very soon. Making sure we get into a good position. We end up seeing this guy. We knew he was up there from the radar. Fell off. And right here.
Oh, broke his armor. Kill his ass.
We end up knocking him, right? But we're not going to be able to get up there in time to get this guy, right? Even if there was a ladder nearby, by the time you actually get there and start climbing that ladder, it's going to be very hard to get up there in time. So this is another one of those situations where I'm going to try to bait this guy. And I want to get into a better spot because he has a lot of high ground right there. It's very easy for him to peek over. I'm just barely going to even be able to see his head. He's going to be able to get shots on me. So we're going to get up on this next level of the roof. And I'm just going to start firing. And he actually hears these because he ends up going and peeking. Boom, he peeked right there.
Come on.
Trying to bait this guy out. We don't end up hitting our shots immediately on this guy. Now, this is where sound comes into play here. Very important. Wait for it. Boom, right there. Broken window. Always be paying attention to that, man. If you hear glass break, that means somebody just either hopped in a window, hopped out of a window, they're breaking glass, and with how that sounded, boom, right next to us, right? Right next to us, we hear that glass breaking. So immediately pull out the AR, checking the building, boom, there he is. There he is. End up taking him out, get in there, remove him. Now, this other guy that's very close, he's going to hear that. He's going to hear all this that has happened, right? So he might be watching for us when we come out of the house here. So keep that in mind. Also, what's someone else he might do? Especially if he hears a fight happen. He might jump off his building. He might be pushing us. Something to be aware of. When you know other enemies are in the area and you just took a fight, expect them to either push you, be waiting for you. They're setting up something, some way for you. At least a very half-decent player would do that. So I end up going checking the roof. Trying to listen, see if I hear him in the building next to us. Right, as we go out here. There he is. Already aimed in with the sniper. Boom, in that situation, right, where you already see the guy aiming in at you, it is very, very risky to take that aim battle at that point and try to snipe because he's in his scope already. You're going to have to get into your scope. It's also going to slow you down, and you're going to have to get on target and hit the headshot before he's able to hit you. You're better off in that situation a lot of time, either one, getting to cover and then peeking out, pre-aiming where he was, or having maybe bob and weave a little bit more, keep moving till he takes the shot, and then aim in. Because he's then reloading, right? He's cycling his bolt in between shots. He's dealing with his recoil, etc. That way you're able to get back on target. So we get out of my face! We pop back behind cover. We pull the sniper out, and then we take the battle then. Sitting on the rooftop the whole damn game. The whole game! And as we're going on, I'm still thinking like about getting bounties. And each one of these bounties or contracts that we complete at this point, we're going to get an insane amount of cash. This is going to help keep fueling the UAVs that we have. You know, it's going to make sure that you're going to have your self-revives. You can get a gas mask if you don't have it already. You can continue to keep buying plates if you need them. It's like, think about how many UAVs I've had this game, and it's due to the fact of completing contracts early on and just continuing to do these contracts. And the amount of edge that it's given us. So, right there, you can see this. Something to pay attention to. We had seen a dot above this vehicle with an arrow above it. And then it ends up going past us after that. There's someone floating above us, right, off of that. Ooh, we got a guy behind us, huh?
Be advised, UAV is bingo fuel. RTB for resupply.
Fly over the top of us. See, you can see, like, he's literally just hovering in the air from the UAV. So right here, we almost could have just got a free kill. This guy barely ends up escaping. Now, something right here, this was very risky. I was even thinking this during the game. Continuing to go for this guy once he's already been shooting, launching past us, there's a decent chance there's somebody in a building close to us here. You know, this is something where you should be gauging your risk. Honestly, I shouldn't have shot at this guy. After the first shot, The first couple shots, should have just left him. Should have let him be, because it's going to be almost impossible to get this guy after he starts diving and maneuvering through the air. And if there was just one dude in a building close to us, in the hangar across from us, or the building right next to us, this would have been a big mistake. This would have been a really, really big mistake. Could have easily ended up having a guy just jump out from behind us, shoot us in the back here while we're trying to shoot a guy that's coming in out of the air. So after those first initial shots, I really should have let this go. I shouldn't have stayed on this as long as I did. Especially even on this chopper.
Oh, I hit him.
But you know, sometimes you want to be going for those snipes. And you want to try to make a big play for chat. But really, firing at either of these, it was a bad decision at this point. Checking the building before we go in. Waiting at the doorway. Especially in solo. Man, so many people are camping, right? So many people are camping in solos. Whenever you're running into a house, I mean, these guys are willing to sit in a corner the whole round. Even, like, how many times... Let me ask you a question. How many people do you think are willing to sit in a house, not move, even though they hear all those gunshots outside? There's so many players out there that are playing the game right now that will literally be willing to not even move once in the house or budge, and they're just going to let those shots happen outside. They're not going to peek them or anything. So just because you're shooting next to a house or any of these, don't just assume that there's no one in there, man. Always be going into every building assuming that there's a guy chilling around any corner, because the players out there right now that are playing the game, man, they are willing to sit in those corners, not move, even if, like, World War III was happening right outside their house and they could easily pop up through a window and shoot them.
Enemy UAV overhead.
So right here, as we're running, trying to maneuver from spot to spot so that we have cover, right? Obviously, you're having to cross wide open areas. This stuff ends up getting real risky, especially in Call of Duty, because there's not a whole lot of recoil on ARs. You can easily just get beamed. But I'm trying to hug the wall. I immediately move from the wall to the trees, to the logs, move to the rock, move up along the wall. And as I'm going, scanning all the buildings. And you can even hear, as I'm moving up, I'm saying, you got to be thinking when you're moving, where are people likely at? There's 10 players left in the game, right? 9 other players other than me. You have to be asking yourself and thinking, with 9 people left, where are they likely at? With 9 people, there's a good chance that there's probably at least one guy over in these houses, right? There is a pretty good chance, and there's a pretty good chance that if he's been chilling in these houses to this point, he might not move in from these houses until he's forced out of them. So we could very well have a guy coming in from our left. There's a pretty decent chance that there's going to be somebody in these houses to our right. Probably multiple people, considering the fact that it's already in the circle, right? There's a bunch of buildings over here already in the circle. And with 9 people left and nobody fighting right now, there's a pretty good chance there's probably at least a couple people in the buildings. So be thinking with the amount of people left, especially as you get closer and closer to late game, and be starting to track where they're at in your head. So I hear this shot to my left. Look at this guy coming out of the houses. We end up seeing this guy ahead of us. We currently have cover from the guy in the houses. From the wall.
Enemy precision airstrike. Take cover.
Focusing on this guy. End up hitting the headshot as he ends up going up the hill here. We get airstrikes, right? So you got to ask yourself, where was this airstrike from? Likely someone either out further. It could have been the guy that we just killed, but I don't think it was. I think he was too worried about the guy sniping into his left or his right. So when you get an airstrike on you, you got to think about where's the general area where this could have came from. Now, when a cluster strike comes in on the map, wherever the cluster is launching from, that is where the player called it from, right? That's the direction where the player called it from. I'm not 100% if that's the case with the airstrike. It might be the case. Chad, do you know if that's the case? When the planes come in, do they come in from the direction where the guy called it? Because that very well might end up being the case. I believe it's the same path. So this actually did get called out from, if that's the case, if you see this plane right here, you can see where this plane flew in from. So maybe it was the guy, or maybe there was another guy out there at the rock that called that airstrike on us. Something to pay attention to there. Tip-top pro tip that maybe people aren't aware of right now. So here, taking the building, and now we're going to play, I'm going to play this slower from in the building because, look, there could be people coming in across the road. There could be people pushing in from all these directions. We're on the edge right here in a well-covered area, right? We can easily just pop open the door and peek out here, left, right, start clearing all around us. So, and we knew somebody was firing in from the left. And we end up seeing this guy up here. And he did have a sniper on his back. So very likely he was the guy that was firing the sniper from our left side. Doesn't know that the guy at that spot we already killed. That's why he's creeping up, checking for him. So we end up hitting that. He's behind cover, medding up, plating up. Still want to pay attention to that because, I mean, this guy has a sniper at this stage of the game. One shot and we're done, huh? Try to see if he's already moved. And he has a hill to work with. That's another thing to realize in these situations. Realize, you know, when a guy has a hill like that, we don't know how far down, but like of a dip that is. He could easily go back behind that hill. He could have maneuvered into multiple different spots. He might not still be at that rock. And that's another thing to use to your advantage whenever you're in a situation like that. Whenever you're in a situation where you're in cover and you got a hill to work with, man, simply backing up from your cover, using a hill, maneuvering to a different spot, putting yourself in a better location or a different location can give you the edge in a fight. So, look, we're down to 7 players here. There's a pretty good chance that there is somebody back behind us here, right? That just got pushed in. Think about where the map is pushing everybody from. Everybody's being forced over across that road, right? So there's a pretty good chance there's got to be like 1, 2 guys over in this area. We know that somebody's up here. And once you know where somebody's at, it gives you more information on where other players can be, right? I know I'm here. I haven't heard anybody in this building next to me. There hasn't been anybody moving. Could there be a guy hiding upstairs? Maybe. But we just killed one guy over here. We've seen this other guy. We haven't heard any shots, gunshots, him fighting anybody else. So we can assume that there's not really anybody else out next to this guy to our north right now. Otherwise, they would have gotten in a fight, right? They would have gotten in a fight. Someone else would have shot him either from, you know, up on these little cliffs. There's probably not anybody over there. And so that kind of tells you about different areas of the zone and where more people are likely to be. Where you know if it's safe in these general areas around you, you've cleared it. You know that that guy hasn't taken another fight. It's probably pretty clear around him as well. This applies to all different BRs too. This isn't just Warzone, right? This is something that you can, from playing many different BRs, by knowing where it's safe for one guy, you can assume, you know, after that. I'll challenge you, bro.
You too scared, dude? Peek me!
You can assume after that where other players will possibly be. It gives you a probability of, you know, where these people are distributed throughout the circle. So we end up knocking this guy, end up pushing up, taking him out. So see, especially once we got up there. Let me see if we can just barely back this up. We can just barely back this up right here. Once we get up here, right? We see where this guy's at. We just barely had a fight over here. I end up shooting this guy. Look at all the area that had a shot on where this dude was at this rock. Like, look at all these spots around him, right? All this cliffside, up over on this hillside. He's got over to his right here. There was plenty of other places that a guy could have been. The fact that this guy hadn't been shot by anybody else in the game tells us that very likely there's no one else out around here. Shut up, dude. I need to hear. It's talking to the box, dude. Losing my mind. And by dude, I mean the inanimate crate. So right there, I took a, you know, I was thinking, looking up at this chopper, do we want to start shooting this guy? At this point in the game, unless I can easily kill this chopper, and even then, you got to think with another 5 players, okay, well, there's 4 other players in the game. I even end up saying it right here. So 5 players left, counting myself, right? So I know where I'm at. I know where the chopper's at. So there's only 3 guys now that we don't know where they're at. With these buildings getting pushed out, it's a very likely chance that somebody's coming up out of those buildings, right? And now paying attention, by not shooting this chopper, we're not really giving away where we're at anymore. I don't want to shoot at this yet. Something to be careful of, though. This guy's flying out around. You don't want him jumping on you, so even though we're not going to shoot at him, we're paying attention to where he's at. Now, boom, what do we hear? We hear gunshots breaking out. There's a guy shooting at the chopper. And it's hard to notice in the VOD, but you could see his tracers shooting up at the chopper there. He was firing, you could hear it, from this little bunker area over here, right? So we've got me here. We've got a guy over in this bunker. We got a guy flying the chopper, right? So what does that tell us about where these other 2 people are at? It tells us very likely, obviously there's not someone very close to this guy. Right now, I'm still alive. And we know that there's a dude in the chopper. So what are the chances that obviously a guy's probably south and another guy might be north, or maybe two guys to the south? Pretty high probability of that's how it's going to be in. We got me here on this side of the circle, one guy here, a dude in a chopper, probably a guy to the south, and then it's either going to be another guy down to the south area with this guy, or another guy up top north.
Right there.
So just by knowing where a couple people are at, few people, we end up knowing where almost everybody's left in the game. End up seeing this guy coming away from the houses here. Take him out. Now, this guy was able just to move up out of those houses for free, right? He never got shot at. I was the first person to shoot at him. So, using that information now, it doesn't really make sense that there would be anybody else that close to him, right? Unless they're just prone, not moving, not doing a thing. And then you hear, you know, it's still gunshots going off. We don't know if this is at another player, or if it's at the chopper. Paying attention, making sure this chopper is not going to jump out on me. Still checking around. And right here, we're going around. I'm checking to the south, seeing if there's anyone else out there. There was no one else out there. So, it made me think at this point that these guys are probably each close to each other to the north. And boom, here we go. You hear the fight break out. Hear the fight break out. Able to get up in here, third party this. Now, paying attention to the death count. Immediately checked the death count after this. There was 3 people left, right? It just went from 4 to 3. So, the guy he was just fighting isn't dead yet. That was my key to keep looking for this guy. End up taking him out, and then it's the chopper. Gonna immediately be putting pressure on him. He bails out of the chopper. It was probably already getting low. And at this point, just gonna stick on him. He has no cover.
I'm gonna sit in a chopper the whole game! You think you're gonna win that way, son? You're not! Bunch! Man, none of them know what they're doing out here, chat.
So that ended up
None of
being
them know what they're doing.
a 21 kill game that we had right there. Eliminated all the other players. And then
Nice little...
eliminate the chopper. So I hope, I mean, breaking that down, maybe it maybe it wasn't, maybe you're gonna get like tons and tons of info off of it, but man, maybe it helped you just like with a couple different things, like thinking about where people will be at in the end game. You know, obviously getting UAVs, a thing that's gonna help you out. Maybe it helped you understand the bounty a little bit more. But if it did help you out, smash that like button. Hope you enjoyed, man. And yo, real quick, chat, we'll go through this here on Twitch. You guys got any questions about what I just broke down? Anything that you're wondering about, thinking about? After that, is there a sound cue for chopper jumping out? No, but as soon as someone bails out of the chopper, now, I think there's actually a bug that doesn't have this happen, but the vast majority of the time, if someone's going to bail out of the chopper, if everybody's bailing out, that chopper is going to go from white to red, or from red to white on your minimap. So as soon as that goes to white, you know no one else is in that chopper, even if it's moving. They've bailed out of it. Also, the reason we knew he bailed out there is because you could see him jump, right? You could see him jump. You could see the parachute come up. What perks do I use? Currently, I believe on that class I was using Cold-Blooded, Overkill, and Amped. The reason I use these perks, Cold-Blooded, so that I don't show up on thermals and heartbeat sensors. Overkill because I like running a sniper as well as an AR. Pro tip, if you create another class that has Ghost then, with say like your same AR or sniper, you can swap to that class, use Ghost, and then still have your sniper as well, right? And then I use Amped for faster weapon swaps. That way I can pull my sniper out very quick. Sometimes in different situations you need to get that sniper out fast in order to take those shots. Also, Amp still helps in like close range gunfights. Say you run out of ammo, you can quickly swap to your secondary, get your secondary out, and still give yourself a chance in the fight. And then I run C4s Whenever I don't run a launcher, I run C4s because, you know, vehicles in the game are pretty good. People running around in vehicles and whatnot, you can blow them up with C4s, and you can still use C4s the same way you would grenades. Just can't throw them quite as far. Bounties, how do they work? Do they go to the nearest player, or does it depend on what perks they have or don't have? Warhawk, I don't know if it goes to the nearest player, but it definitely goes to like one of the nearest players next to you. I can't say 100% if it goes to the nearest player or not. That would be that's a pretty good question, because if you did know that, then you would know, obviously, no one else is closer than the guy that you just got the bounty on. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's a like random squad within a very close proximity. What determines if you spend on loadout or UAV in early game? So Troda, in solos, I really don't like spending money on the loadout. I like stacking money and getting my loadout from the one that drops in the game. You get a loadout drop in the game a few seconds before the first circle locks. So if I'm just farming dough up to that point using guns in the game, like if I end up finding, obviously, like I said, the Grau or the M4, you know, different snipers gonna be in good, couple launchers, I can end up using those to the point until we get to the circle almost locking, and then just get a loadout for free. I don't have to spend 10,000 in cash. I can keep that cash for other things, for self-revive, UAV, for plates. Didn't know about the arrows on the UAV. Feels bad. Hey, man, it's not a feels bad situation. There's a lot of people actually out there that don't know. Yeah, I use overkill first, crawfish, rather than going straight for ghost. That's just a preference thing, though. But I will say, I think that using a sniper in solos is pretty huge. There's a lot of situations where you can easily be getting pinned down, and a sniper can bail you out of those spots. So, you know, if someone's on a rooftop and you're behind a rock and he has an AR, and you have an AR and he's just pre-aiming you, you're probably not going to be able to get out of that situation a lot of the time using just an AR. You're going to need a sniper to get out of that situation. So I think snipers in solos are probably one of the best secondaries to carry, because it can bail you out of a lot of those spots, a lot of those bad situations. The guy at the rock was hard to see. Tips on seeing sneaky snakes. You know, Crockford, I'll be 100% honest. If coming from many different battle royales, sometimes it's almost impossible or very hard to be spotting people that are just, you know, laying prone, or just not moving at all when they're chilling out at rocks or bushes or different things. One thing to always think about is that if there is going to be anybody hiding, right, they're going to be usually laying right next to a rock, right next to a tree, right next to, you know, a big hedge. So being cautious of those areas when you're passing them or going past them, maybe just, you know, checking them for just a second can really help you out. But sometimes you're just never going to be able to spot people that are just laying prone next to rocks and different things. Also, if you're wondering like how I seen the guy at the very end there, it's because I had seen him moving up out of the buildings before he laid prone at that rock. Let me see. Do you go more for headshots or body shots? Always go for headshots if you can get them. But some situations, it's, you know, getting any shots is better than getting no shots. So, you know, sometimes somebody's going to move very close to you, move right past you, and you're not going to easily be able to get the head. Just shoot whatever you can at that point, right? But obviously, if you can get a headshot, always get a headshot. How can you tell which way a cluster strike is called from? On the mini-map, right? Got your mini-map. The way that the cluster strikes are flying in from, that's where the person called it from. So that direction. So if on your mini-map, you know, you got north, south, east, west, yada, yada. If it's flying in from the right, from the east, that means that person called it in from the east. They called it in from that direction. And apparently that's the same way with the airstrikes as well. So you can know the general direction that that person called it in from. And often, the way that the cluster strike shows up, it usually shows up like right above where the guy called it. When it starts flying towards you, wherever it's spawning in from and flying towards you, usually that's right where the guy called it in from. What's better, M4, Grau? When it comes to different guns, especially when it comes to loadout weapons, it's mainly preference, dude. It isn't really something where it's like one's better than the other. Like M4 has a little bit more DPS than the Grau, but the Grau has less recoil. So Grau can be better at distance or shooting people in the head, yada, yada, yada. It's a lot of a thing where it comes down to preference. Endgame, nerves, how to combat those. Ash, that's a very good question. When it comes to endgame, right? I think, a lot of people watch me and they think that I have like no nerves at all when it comes to endgame. Still have a little bit of nerves, right? The reason I have very little nerves though when it comes to endgame is because I've been in so many different endgame situations, right? The more and more you put yourself in those situations, the less and less they affect you, the more and more you get desensitized to those situations. So you get into late game, dude, when I very first started ever playing Battle Royale, my heartbeat would be like doo-doof, 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 in the late game situation. My hand sweating, dude. Sweating. I could barely grip my damn mouse. Same thing with my keyboard. I bet I sound like, you're thinking to yourself, holy shit, that sounds like me. It's because the vast majority of people start off that way. The vast majority start off that way. But you keep practicing, keep getting better, keep putting yourself in those situations. You get better and better at handling those situations. Something to keep in mind, whenever you get in those situations, tell yourself, stay calm. We're just playing a game here. This isn't some actual life or death situation, right? Nothing's going on like that. Take a deep breath and, just do your best. Do your best. If you end up dying, is what it is. Learn from it, right? And also know that by getting yourself in that situation again, like each time you'll start noticing this, you're going to be like, I was a little bit better that time. Like you get yourself in a couple more end game situations, you'll be like, I was a little bit more calm that time. I remember like tunnel vision, I would get tunnel vision, not think it properly. But the more and more you get yourself in those situations, the better and better you'll get. The better and better you'll get. How do you stay positive? I keep getting frustrated with my shot and with the play style of others. How do you keep motivated? That's a very good question. One, if you're getting frustrated with your shot, practice. You need to practice more. Keep practicing. Especially, like I said, like jump into domination, jump into headquarters, Your shot's just not going to get good magically. You got to keep practicing that. And don't expect it to be like something that just comes over in like a couple of days, couple of nights. It's something where you have to put a lot of time into. It's a skill. It's a skill just like everything else. It's like, a quarterback that ends up getting really damn good at throwing a football, right? It's because they've thrown that football thousands and thousands and thousands of times, in multiple different situations. They didn't just like start throwing a football and then all of a sudden they were just a god. It's very, very, very rare that that's ever going to be the case. Comes down to practice. And it says, how do you keep motivated? Well, that's a very good question. And I think many different things go into that. I think having a goal, something you're working towards, can be very big, very huge, something pushing you forward. I think that motivation a lot of the time comes down to how bad we want something. How bad you want something and how much you're going to be willing to go through to get to the point that you want to get with that. And another thing that comes in with that is appreciating like the hard work that you put into something to get better. And when you start noticing those little improvements, like you start getting better at something, at least for me, that becomes pretty addictive at that point, where it's like, I put this practice into my aim to get better, and I'm better now like than I was a week ago because of this practice. Like I noticed when I'm in the game, like my shots on point a little bit more. My peeking got a little bit better. My quick scoping got a little bit better. My movements got a little bit better from this practice. And once you notice that, it's like, boom, I can keep making these improvements. I think that helps with motivation as well. But hey, man, when it comes to motivation, if there was one thing or one secret or one tip, man, we'd all be fucking ripped out of our minds, having six packs. We'd all be gods in everything that we did. Motivation isn't an easy thing. And it's something that I think each person almost has to find out for themselves to help get to that point they want to be. And I think also another thing that comes into play there is discipline and still doing things even when you're not motivated sometimes, if it means enough to you. All right, dude. I think that's quite a few questions. I think that's quite a few questions right there. So, yo, that game will end up on the YouTube channel. If you don't sub to the YouTube yet, maybe you only caught part of that. Maybe you want to be making sure that you catch future videos as well. That'll wind up on the YouTube. If you want to hit the old sub button over there on the YouTube, would be super sick. There's a link in the chat to the YouTube. Yo, Wrinkle, thanks for gifting 5 subs to the pack. All right, let's hop in. Let's get another game in.